When it comes to living life, there's a lot to overthink, but I don't ever have to overthink my water. I've been drinking Smart Water for years and truly love its pure, crisp taste. It's vapor distilled through a process inspired by clouds. I love chic branding, and Smart Water's sleek bottle shape makes it the perfect accessory for any day bag, workout tote, or backpack. Smart Water is the smart way to hydrate no matter what you have going on in your life. Life is full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more.
Hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of you relaxing, because now you're managing diabetes with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. You get to know your glucose levels and where it's headed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. Ready to learn more about the #1 prescribed CGM in the U.S.? Visit freestylelibre.us to learn more. Based on retail sales data for patients' last filled prescription by manufacturer. Refer to the FLAIR NL4 study published in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care 2019. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Does money stress you out? Let Facet flip your financial chaos into clarity.
We feel way more confident and secure in our finances, and with that comes a sense of freedom.
Financial planning from Facet is here to help you improve your life today, tomorrow, and every day after that.
Facet was really the place where we saw all of the tools and the people coming together.
Visit Facet.com, FACET.com to learn more. This ad is sponsored by Facet. Facet Wealth is an SEC registered investment advisor. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor is it investment, legal, or tax advice. These testimonials are from current Facet members who are not compensated. All opinions are their own and not a guarantee of a similar outcome.
Every Genesis is a reminder to try something new, to keep growing, keep hustling, keep beginning. At Genesis, they harness that mindset into their performance SUV, the GV70. Turn heads with a stunning design inside and out. Discover intuitive technology inside the GV70 with a 14.5-inch infotainment system. The Genesis GV70 is for those who are making their mark on the world and want to enjoy luxurious amenities while they do it. So go on and enjoy an exhilarating drive in the GV70. Your Genesis GV70 is waiting for you. Learn more at genesis.com. Genesis, keep beginning. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Zoe, and you're listening to Climbing in Heels. This show is all about celebrating the most extraordinary superwomen who will be sharing their incredible journeys to the top, all while staying glamorous. Today with me, we have Maha Dakhil, motion picture agent at the amazing Creative Artists Agency, otherwise known as CAA. You may have heard of it. And she also sits with me and many other incredible women on the board of the amazing Baby to Baby. On today's episode, Maha talks about growing up in an immigrant family in Encino, California, and fostering her love of making a difference in the world in a less conventional way. She also opens up about managing her work, social, and family life, all while remaining very zen throughout the process, or at least seemingly. I'm really, really happy to talk to you because if I looked up climbing in heels and my intention behind climbing in heels, I would put you next to it. So I know you as like badass Maha, right? Like she's just crushes at everything, whatever. But you'd probably be like, hey, it's been like blood, sweat, and tears for however many years, 20 years or whatever it is to get to where I am. And I think a lot of people see women who are at the top of their games and they just see them there and they're like, oh my God, they're so lucky. It's like, oh, no. I know. Most of the time they make you laugh. And that's where sort of the climbing in heels, whether you wear heels or not, which I do know that you do wear heels.
I wear heels.
I know you do.
High heels.
I know you do. And it's funny because someone I had on here, they were like, Rachel, you wear heels. I don't wear heels. I'm like, you wear your own version of heels. Everyone's got their different version.
There's metaphorical heels,
yes.
But I actually wear the physical
both
heels.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree. And so first and foremost, I just want to say, for those of you who don't know who Maha is, she's literally probably one of the most successful agents, partners, founders of a million important things like Time's Up, which we're going to talk about, but also at the very top of probably the most successful talent agency, which has now so many different things, not just talent, CAA, and also represents the biggest talent across the board in the industry on all sides, not just actors, but directors, writers, all of it. And so I want to talk about first, I do want to go back a drop to the beginning because I always like to really understand who were you as like a little girl? Like, were you this like fearless, ambitious, like nutty little girl who was like, I'm going to do a million things and no one mess with me? Or were you like timid and sweet and shy, like all the things?
So funny.
And where did you grow up? Because I do want to know that too.
Okay. Well, it's a funny thing, the beginning, because I like to think I'm still at the beginning and that there's so many,
Me too.
much more to go and many more chapters and acts. But the real beginning would be in Encino, California, where I grew up.
Yep.
And I grew up, and I think this defined my relationship with women all around. I grew up with two sisters who I'm very close with, and I'm right in the middle of the two of them. And we have a little brother, and that also defined my relationship with men because we would tell our little brother what to do all the time.
as you should. He had no chance with three sisters, by the way.
He really didn't, but he's got a chance at being a great husband because he was nurtured by three very strong women and his mom too. So four strong women. So I grew up in Encino, and you would think maybe that put me in proximity to show business, but I grew up with an immigrant family, a Muslim family. My parents came from Libya, and Libya is pretty foreign to the rest of the world.
Right.
It's a really tiny population in Libya itself. So even amongst the Arab world, Libya is really small and really specific. And my parents, who were extremely proud of their culture and heritage and came here seeking freedom and education for their kids, left so much behind. And that really defined our upbringing because that meant we were driven by guilt.
Sure. No, of course. Be grateful. Be grateful.
Yes. Be grateful.
Be grateful. Don't complain. Yes.
And they were wonderful parents, and they instilled really amazing values within us, and all the values that they instilled in each of their kids is what guides us and opens pretty much any path we've set ourselves on. And that's been really key to my upbringing and to I think the part of my life where I began to embark on a career. But as immigrants, they didn't have the shorthand, they didn't have the assimilation, the acceptance, or the knowledge to really share to open the doors in the world of entertainment. So most immigrant families, and this is pretty universal, want their kids to be highly educated in fields that are extremely reliable and have reliable paths to ascend. And the film business doesn't offer that. TV doesn't offer that. The media world doesn't offer that. I don't think the fashion world and most of these worlds are more amorphous. And to my parents, that was very scary, that you could study and be really worthy and valuable and somehow be overlooked because you weren't favored or you didn't look like the people who were, doing the thing that you want to do. So I wasn't encouraged in this business at all growing up, but I was drawn to it always. I was drawn to creative writing. I was drawn to just movies, pop culture, music, dance. All of those arts were guiding me. And it was a very subtle kind of more in the background of my upbringing. As I was going to say, but I could see.
Did you want to do those things, or you wanted to be a part of those things? Like you were attracted to them, or you wanted to actually do them?
I wanted to write as a kid.
Okay.
But I'm way too social to be a real writer. Right. So I can write, but I don't write because I want to talk more than I want to write.
Sure, of course.
And but that's what I started off with, short stories and creative writing as a kid. I think that was probably my big clue. But like I said, I didn't know how to connect that to anything. So that's kind of how it began. And my personality, I'm still trying to analyze. I think I was all the things that you said. I think at times I was shy and timid growing up. Like I said, in an immigrant background, you weren't always sure about when and how to assert yourself. Yep. But I had a father who was very strong and very clear about our value and encouraged us to take up space.
Good.
And that we were worthy.
That's
great.
And
my father was very, very clear about that. And that was defining.
That's amazing though, because I had a father like that, but I've had a lot of women on this podcast that were very, to your point, sort of like stay in a safe path, stay in that secure path, no risk taking. So that's pretty incredible that you had a dad like that and have parents like that, because I think for us, when our parents are our cheerleaders, I think that makes everything easier. You're not like going against the sort of like dream when you're, especially I think as an immigrant family, you're sort of like, oh God, it's a little more scary, I think, right? To take that risk. Because what if it doesn't work? And then they were right.
Well, they didn't, to be honest, what they supported was, they supported the idea of big ambitions and a big career, but the film world was not something they supported at all.
Right.
So in essence, I remember having a very specific conversation with my father after college when he thought I was going to law school. And I thought I might go to law school, but instead I did an internship at Cannes that opened my eyes up to all the things I loved in one place: a red carpet, fashion, social change, movies. I was a goner. And what I said to him is that we share the same goals. We share the same destination. I want to change the world. You want me to change the world, but we don't share the same vision for the path.
Interesting.
And I said, I've got your back. I know what you want from me as your kid, but I have to do it in this very different way. And it's not, and he didn't understand, because from there I went off to be an assistant to directors and producers, and I was buying dog food and cat food and house sitting, and he couldn't see the correlation between my big ambitions and what my immediate, time looked like. So he kept stuffing applications of the London School of Economics under my door, and we just didn't speak very much during this period.
By the way, and that's a really big risk and a chance that I think you took, and I think a lot of very successful women had to take. They had to kind of go against what was expected and what was okay. And also very often what was supported, by their parents. Because I think a lot of parents, when you choose the path that they want, they're happy to support you financially and otherwise along the way. And then sometimes they're like, okay, you do you, but like see you on the other side kind of thing, right? So, yes. Okay. So Cannes, let's talk about that. Because I remember my first time going to Cannes Film Festival, and obviously like as a stylist and working. But I remember, and I always compare it to that like Sarah Jessica moment when she gets to Paris for the first time. It's like that. It's like you gasp for air because it doesn't seem real, right? It's like what you see in movies is not real. It's like the Grace Kelly, the Sophia Loren, the steps and the gowns and the like. It's the dream, right? I mean, it's really like the dream of all of it. So there you are. You're interning at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's also mayhem, by the way. Like, I mean, our dear friend Jason Weinberg long ago was like. Was there with him, and he was just constantly white. He was just like, but I think
he's a Cannes fixture.
He is a Cannes fixture. So basically your eyes light up. All of it comes together before your eyes. You're an intern. And, I had that moment when I crashed my first fashion show, and I was like 22 years old. And I said, yep, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I don't care if I get paid. I don't care if I starve doing it, but this is what I'm doing. Right. And I imagine that you had that moment of like, somehow this is my calling and I'm going to just go for it. So how does that happen in real life? Because it was much harder then even than it is now to do this.
So everything you just said, I relate to. You crashing your fashion show is me going to my first Cannes. And I kept interning in the film world as in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I did not treat it as the front door. I treated it as the side thing. And I probably would go to law school. But once I went to Cannes, and truly all of my interests were encompassed right in that moment, in that space. And I was taking a class at the time at UCLA, literally called Art and Social Change. Like I really did feel like my calling was social justice oriented. Mm-hmm. But instead of politics, I always felt compelled that art and storytelling was way more effective.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that in Cannes. I saw people from corners of the most remote parts of the world coming to Cannes with their movie. And I loved that. I loved all the different languages. I loved seeing people from different cultures, backgrounds, demographics. And I love fashion, and I love the red carpet, and I love the glamour of the industry. And it was all encompassed right then. So I had this epiphany that it's not a side thing. This is actually going to be my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what people in Cannes actually do, but somebody needs to make this my job to be here again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it was many, many years before I returned, because there is no real job that takes you to Cannes as an assistant, really, unless you work toward it. And I, at that point, did not see the agent path in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would go into something more creative, work my way up. It went from being in the middle of Cannes to being as far away from Cannes as possible for 10 years.
Right. Interesting.
Until I could return.
Okay. Wow. 10 years. So then take me to CAA.
So my 20s were really tough, because coming out of college and then pivoting from law school and going into film, and like I just referred to, jokingly running around buying dog food and being an assistant and schlepping around.
Yep.
I was not immediately seen and lifted up in this industry by somebody who cared and, gave me the access.
Me neither.
I took a lot of, I'm sure.
Me neither.
You weren't lucky?
No.
Me neither.
No.
Me neither.
Got my ass kicked.
Same. And I took a lot of different jobs looking for an angle and really starving for a mentor more than anything else. I was hopefully going to find someone who understood I was a bit different. I was a bit unconventional and would take a chance on me. But in fact, my being unconventional made me stick out more in some ways, being a woman that was extremely outspoken and clear about, my values, my interests. You were taught all through college and school, like, raise your hand, speak up.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got into the beginning of the film business, late 90s, early 2000s, that wasn't really so celebrated. It was, I kind of stuck out in all the wrong ways. And so
you were probably
jobs,
perceived as difficult.
I was perceived as difficult. And, I don't think there's enough difficult women in the business now that I know all of the difficult, amazing women who are my friends. But at the time, I was difficult and alone.
Yep. Every Genesis is a reminder to try something new, to keep growing, keep hustling, keep beginning. At Genesis, they harness that mindset into their performance SUV, the GV70. Discover intuitive technology inside the GV70 with a 14.5-inch infotainment system. The Genesis GV70 is for those who are making their mark on the world and want to enjoy luxurious amenities while they do it. I used to dread driving around LA because of the traffic, the stop and go, the blaring sun, always getting directly into my eyes no matter what time of day it is. But thanks to Genesis, driving around here isn't too bad, especially when I'm driving in style. Turn heads with the stunning design of the GV70 inside and out. The GV70 features the silhouette of a coupe and the capability of an SUV. So go on and enjoy an exhilarating drive in the GV70. Your Genesis GV70 is waiting for you. Learn more at genesis.com. Genesis. Keep beginning.
I do recall one person I worked for saying to me, who I still know he's a great manager, he said, "You're like a plug that needs an outlet." And he did at least recognize that you're a plug that doesn't have its outlet. But you definitely have the talent. You are the plug.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to find your outlet. And so that image really stuck in my mind so clearly, so vividly, that I was looking for my outlet. And what it really meant is I was looking for someone to open the door. It wasn't so specific as to, I thought I wanted to produce. I thought maybe I wanted to be a studio executive. But ultimately, it came in the form of the agency world, where this very tiny agency was hiring. And there was an agent there who had been at William Morris, a very, very senior agent starting a motion picture group. I sat with him not to be interviewed as an agent, but to just get some guidance from him. A mutual friend set us up. And because he was hiring agents, he thought I was interviewing to be an agent, and he just mixed the whole day up and interviewed me as if I was an agent. And then at the end, he said, "This is a little awkward, but do you have clients? Like, you seem like you're a great agent." And I quickly understood that there was a big misunderstanding, but used it to my advantage. And I said, "I have no clients, but I could do this job." And I just started pitching myself. And it was a small enough agency. You couldn't do that at a big agency because there's a mailroom and there's a training program. But this tiny place, this was my first real mentor. He looked at me and said, you don't have clients, you have no experience, but you have the gift of gab, and that's what we do. And you're an advocate, and that's what we do. And so he took me under his wing. He hired me as a coordinator. And 2 years after being there, I'll do the long story short version, I was hired at CAA.
Wow.
And that sounds easy, but it wasn't. All the stuff that happened in between.
Of course.
But this is a podcast, not a miniseries. So,
listen, I mean, that's the thing. You're really like a 5-part podcast. Fitting you into one is really challenging.
I'm going to try to fit myself into one and make your life easier.
No, it's all good. I could talk to you for a week straight. But the thing is, your road was hard. It was not easy. You've earned it tenfold. Or 1,000-fold. I used to say, people used to be like, "Well, Rachel, did you use your voice?" And I was like, "Yeah, but if I used my voice in the early 2000s, then I was called difficult, And it was really just simply funny because I'm always very polite. I'm always very kind, but it was simply just like kind of protecting like people or clients or things like that. But somehow it was like, if like Roger said it to someone, no one say a word, right? And so I think you've really helped to make women's voices louder. And I think that you brought something up that I find so interesting, because I think traditional parents of past, and still now, but we're trying to change that, right? But they really see these paths as like, take this safe, secure path, right? But what's so interesting, you said something like, "Oh, I was going to do law and change the world," but you felt like storytelling and film and writing and all of that really does change the world. And what I've seen over the last, 10 years, 15 years is how much film does change the world and does change the narrative of the world, right? Like, look at this year's Oscars. I mean,
absolutely.
That's crazy what's happening. And it's incredible. It's obviously what should have always been. And, everything takes 10,000 times longer than it should. But I think you are a huge, proponent of all of this change. And I think I do want to talk about Time's Up. Obviously, like, I don't think we met through Baby to Baby. We met through probably clients over the years, but long before that. But but you are very active as a board member for Baby to Baby, and I love that. But I do want to talk about Time's Up, because I think it's important to really amplify why you started that and what that's doing, because I think you were so ahead there, and it's obviously working.
Well, I think what was so amazing and continues to carry on from Time's Up is, in that moment, all of us difficult women got together, and I don't even know if we realized we were organizing, but because we're all problem-solving types, many of us got in a room and just thought we would take this crisis as an opportunity to see what we could do to affect change and raise the standards for women everywhere, not just in our industry, but to use our industry as the propeller. And that was really the thinking. And so many incredible women came into a room, and we immediately realized that if it wasn't a baby shower, we weren't always in a room together.
Isn't that crazy?
Ourselves.
That's true.
It was really illuminating to me to be with really strong, powerful, intellectual, artistic, incredible women of all walks of the business. We've never been alone together to ideate, and it was a different feeling. You weren't thinking twice before you opened your mouth. You were not adapting yourself into the conversation. And I think what we all realized was the power of our unity, that many of the women, especially actresses, have been particularly siloed, and maybe it's been ingrained for them to even be competitive. And it was beautiful to see them all come together around different initiatives. It was beautiful to see them connect with domestic workers and farmers and women of many other industries of completely different socioeconomics, and to say, like, I see you, and actually we have really similar days in certain ways.
Yeah.
When it comes to the lens of the male gaze on all of us. So I think a lot got done just in that one moment, because the moment presented itself, and everybody was ready to meet it. It certainly had so many challenges because we weren't set up to be,
of course.
It was a crisis that we all sort of responded to, and none of it was done perfectly, but it was incredible.
But I think it's continuing.
It's continuing in a different way now. To be candid, it hit enough challenges that a lot of organizations challenged, which is it got held up to the own standards that it set, and in some ways wasn't able to meet those standards. But a lot is living on and continues on, and so many of the women that I've met through Time's Up continuing to do incredible work. And many of us now are focused on abortion and working with an underground, not so underground network of women across industries who are extremely focused on getting our rights back in that area, and helping medical providers in different states get the aid that they need. So that's become the focus.
So let me ask you a question. How is it, and I'm sure you get asked this on the daily, but like, how do you manage to do what you do? Because you do happen to be an agent to the biggest talents in the world across the board. You know, Tom Cruise, because that's casual. I mean, Anne Hathaway, Reese Witherspoon, you know her, who also like Hello Sunshine, and like so you not only represent talent, but also talent that goes on to also do the biggest things that you obviously advocate, support, and probably initiate or help ideate with all of these things. But I also think that, but you also, on the board of Baby to Baby, you're also working with like a million directors and writers. You're also a mother.
Yes. And, my biggest job.
Right. By the way, the biggest job. And so, I mean, my question to you is, and I've never seen you, by the way, not smiling, you know, and I know that you definitely, of course, you're human. You have overwhelmed moments. Like, I know for me, I have those like breakdown crying in my bedroom moments. But like, I guess like my question for you is, what are you most proud of? What are you challenged with the most? Obviously, being a working mother, I'm going to answer that part, but I bet you have another answer. But I think, you know, I'm just curious, because I think you really are doing 1 billion things and really well, and like crushing all of them. So my question is, how do you do that and stay you come off very zen to me.
So that is a big compliment. I think that is because I kind of try to hold it all together with a true north philosophy that is pretty flexible and pretty forgiving. Okay. Meaning that I want to be the best mom in the world. I want to be the best advocate agent for my clients. I want to be the best leader at my company, and I want to be a mentor and help others, you know, the way I was looking for. I want to be a philanthropist. I want to, you know, be able to contribute to the greater world. And I think that I see all of the things I just said as integrated, as opposed to I'm a mom, I'm an agent. I see myself as a whole human that wants to do all these things. And throughout my day, different aspects of my interests are going to take up more of my time in any one given moment. And then I find, you know, the balance when one of them is sort of more all consuming than the other. So I don't really expect every day to go perfectly well and balanced. I'm totally okay being out of balance and being completely consumed by work and not seeing my kids for a couple days, because that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And then I'm really happy to soak them up for the time that I can. And I think it's all about the quality of what you do, as opposed to being scattered and showing up to everything and being able to check a box that you're, roll call, you were here.
It's true.
And, they remind me I'm on my phone a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So I'd rather be with them a little less, but really focused and have a more quality conversation with them than trying, to do all the things. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to hear them screaming while I'm on a conference call.
Of course.
Because I am trying to do it all at once.
Of course.
It's not that kind, but I just accept that life's going to be out of balance and that different things are going to happen in different phases, and what my clients all need different things at different moments.
Of course.
So not to compare them to kids, they're not kids, but everything requires something different from me. And I just feel really at peace with, it's not going to all be perfect.
Yep.
But no one can do it better than me for each of the needs that are required of me.
So interesting, because I always say, you just kind of want to be the best at what it is that you're doing, right? So when you're with your kids, you want to be the best mom in that moment, right? Or in those moments. And when you're with your clients, it's you have to do that the best, right? And I think it's sort of if you just keep that, it's sort of what I'm doing right now, I need to do the best at, right? And I think that's what we tell our kids, right? Try your best, do your best, right? But there's still so much left to do. You're not ever done, right?
No. And my appetite is pretty insatiable for action, for fun, for, for just getting things done. So I'm a little bit addicted to doing too much. And it's like they say, you give it to a busy person, it'll get done faster.
It's true.
I'll somehow fit it into my day.
Of course. And what do you have, and I don't know if you can actually answer this, but maybe, do you have a favorite part? Do you have something that you're doing now or that you're excited to start, or something that's this is besides being mom? I'm going to take that out.
I think this job is so fulfilling in the sense that the way I see it and the way I've approached it is really from a place of being an advocate and opening doors and connecting people who wouldn't have met otherwise and matching people to opportunities. That is extremely fulfilling. And I think coming out of the last few years, opening more doors for women in our business is just the most exciting and, gratifying aspect of what we do. I have many really wonderful male clients, and I consider them great allies and feminists too. Those are the kinds of men I'm drawn to working with. Yep. Tom included.
Yeah.
And
so sweet. He's a sweetheart.
Supportive.
He's a sweetheart.
And but seeing women have more real estate, have more agency, have more equity. And then also watching those women open doors for other women, that is just, to me, the pinnacle.
And I want to talk about that for 1 second, because the mentor, you were talking about mentoring, and I had a feeling you were going to say that, because like you, I did not have any mentors. I had my parents, but different. That's different. I didn't have a woman. Really, I had a few guys later, a bit later, that were real champions and real mentors. But I would have died for that in that moment, but I had Tommy Hilfiger was probably my first mentor. Marc Jacobs, kind of taught me sort of how to deal with different things that were thrown at me. And I think that's why being an advocate for women is so important. I think that watching you be such an advocate for women is incredible, because I think you're sort of I need to now do what I didn't have, because I know how valuable that is, right? And I think, I don't know, so are you sort of formalizing, do you mentor personally, or are you trying to sort of create mentors for other women, or probably all of the above?
I think all of the above. I definitely have specific women at this company I'm mentoring.
I feel like you mentor everyone you say hello to, though. I literally feel like by being in your universe, the people just go, Maha, what about this? But what do you think of this? And I just feel like you're just going to share your love and knowledge for everything you've done with all the people that you care about, right?
I think
see
this
you
is a
doing
function
that.
of being a middle sister, which is I had a sister to an older one to look up to, and I had a younger one that I had, I want to be looked up to. Although she's my youngest sister is like our oldest sister.
Of course,
so we all work for her.
Always.
But there are specific people I mentor, but what I relish in my role of getting to be a leader at this company is being able to model it. And so it's scaled up, because what you don't want, what was hard, as you know, is the luck aspect of hoping you find your mentor. But if you try to put systems in place or invite a culture of mentorship, then everyone's kind of is doing it, and it's transformative. Yeah. And it was interesting to me because there were so many women at CA who were senior to me when I got here 19 years ago. They were all quite amazing and very powerful in their own rights. And they were really, really great to me. I think that it's an interesting thing I have to be aware of now that I'm also older, is there's generational gaps between all of us. So like what they're going through, what I was going through is different than what women, who came before me had to go through and had to face. And I'm reminded that it was even more difficult. And I just keep going back to younger me. Like I saw things in a really specific way, and being told all the time, this is the way you should do it. This is how you'll get ahead, and be careful of this and be careful of that. That's all based on someone else's experience. So I'm really careful not to limit people with my own experience. I share it, and there's something you can draw from it, but I'm very aware that every generation's got their own set of challenges. But mentorship is crucial. And I still want to be mentored. I still want, women older than me to tell me what to do. I love it.
I want to touch on something, because I think in the traditional sense, I think people were like, some people don't even know what an agent is. Most people outside of the industry don't actually know. Like my parents will still say to me, what's an agent versus a manager? And what is publicist versus it's not something that's a given, right? But I think, what I always like to tell young people coming up in any industry is that the title is the title. It's what you actually make of that. What do you turn that into? It may have a role defined, a job description, right? But clearly you've taken the job description of an agent and taken it to such a completely different stratosphere, which I think has really changed the conversation. There's a handful of incredible women agents and managers and publicists like, Meredith O'Sullivan or that have really changed the game for what these roles were of past. And I think for you've really turned the term being an agent into something so completely diversified and totally different. And so I think my last sort of question, because I could ask you 10,000, would probably be like, what would you share with young people that are listening and being like, oh my God, I want to be her, or like, oh my God, her job is my dream job. How do I ever become that? Because I'm telling you, everyone, you have made it if Maha is your agent. You have made it. If she is representing you, I can tell you, you're good. You're going to have to work your ass off, but you're good. You have fully made it at that point. What would you say to these young people, or even not young people looking to do a career pivot or anything and being like, I want to do what she does. I want to be an agent. I want to do this. I want to do that. What would you say to that? Because it's terrifying. It is a terrifying place to walk into.
It is. And I want to demystify it because it was, imagine yourself at home, being comfortable and being yourself and being your full self, right? So I think it starts with your own comfort in your own skin and the way you walk in the world and what you bring into a room. Because being an agent is really a people person job.
1,000%.
And your presence is felt.
Yes.
It is. And it's how you connect to people and what your ability to empathize, understand the actual human that you're dealing with, and then how to read the entire room, and then to figure out, locate yourself in the situation and locate the person in the situation, and be able to read, 1,000 words a minute of in psychology speak of what needs to get done to define success. it's a really hard thing to teach, right?
It is.
It really
I
does
agree.
stem from personality, because it's not just hard work. And I am alarmed. I'm going to sound like an old lady because I'm not sure, that hard work has the same value that it used to. People are all looking for shortcuts or ways to get out of it. I've learned so much about quiet quitting, which I don't.
Oh my God.
I don't.
I said, this needs to be a 5-part podcast.
Yes, exactly. So we can complain about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about that.
But here they are. So I'm not going to complain about the generation. I acknowledge you're here. I'm going to tell you that you're here, you're valuable, you're doing it differently. You really do have to work hard, and you've got to love it. Do you love movies? Do you love books? Do you love storytelling?
Do you love people?
Do you love people? And go find your person. It is much easier to find a mentor now than it was, when you and I were coming up, Rachel. People are much more generous, and they're looking for you because they're really looking for hardworking, intelligent, sparkly humans to put on the path. They really are. I mean, I know I am. I know you are.
Very hard to find. Very hard.
Harder to find. So we're looking for you. Show up. That would be my my advice.
By the way, you couldn't be more right. And I have to say, it's like that thing we hear with our kids now that never had a name or a title, that it's not your IQ, it's your EQ. And I think in these professions, your EQ is so freaking valued and valuable. And it's funny, I always say, like, the thing I don't worry about my kids, I really don't worry about them walking into a room and understanding the room. And I think that's sort of the thing. I think as anything in business, any business, I think an ability to read the room. And, I think you were a sociology major as well, right? I was a psych-soc major. One would argue it may have served us in some ways, but but I would say that the biggest takeaway, I think, there is really for people to learn that how to talk to people and how to read people and how to read a room. And I think being an agent is probably, I actually would argue that any role in that room of stylist, hairstylist, manager, publicist, agent, you have to read that room and know your role in that room. Right? And know what you are there to bring to the table. And the agent really is the ringleader, I have to say. And you are such a ringleader, by the way. You're such a ringleader.
It's funny. I'm such a bearer of bad news most of the time. But I think that's why I'm smiling so hard. So I want you to feel how bad my bad news is.
I know, but you're also but you also bear a lot of good news. So there you go.
Well,
it's like being an entrepreneur. It's like being an entrepreneur. Highs are high, lows are low, But I love you madly. I respect you just immeasurably. And I don't say that about a lot of people, but I do. You are just the real deal. And I think what you've accomplished is next level. And I love how much you bring it to all the things that you do in all aspects of not just your work, but your life on all sides, your personal life, your professional life, your philanthropic life, and clearly to your clients because they adore you. So, and you also throw a really great party, let's just say.
Thank you, Rachel. I mean, now I want to start my own podcast because I have so many questions, follow-ups for you.
Well, we can do a part 2, Maha. We can do a part 2. Or we can just go have lunch or a dinner or a cocktail. All of the above.
All of the above.
Have a beautiful day. Go crush life today. I know you will. And then go home and have dinner with your family.
Same to you. Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Oh, my God.
I really appreciate and admire you so much as well. And all that you've accomplished.
Well, right back. And I can't wait to talk about more. Okay, everyone, it's that time in the show when I answer 2 listener questions. So let's see what we have today. If you could go back to graduate school, what would you want to study given your career today? I can answer that so easily. Business, corporate finance, and business. I know you will probably be shocked to hear that from me, but I mean that really through to my core. I really wish that I got my MBA in corporate finance and business. And I recommend to anyone who will listen, study business because it will apply to literally anything you do or want to do in your life on some level. Okay. Who made your pink sequin and feather dress for your Curator event the other day? That was a favorite dress. I thought it was a little much, and my team made me wear it because it was in Malibu. So I was going for a little more earthy, but I went the other way. Went for Malibu Barbie. But I have to say, it was so fun to wear. And it's a designer called Taller Marmo, Taller, and then Marmo. I find myself wearing them a lot because their clothes are so fun and so me, and I'm so comfortable in them. Okay, don't forget to submit your questions for next week's episode. All you have to do is DM us your questions to @ClimbingInHeelsPod on Instagram, and I might just answer your question. Welcome back to Currently with Curator, where I share my latest style obsessions, all of which you can access through my shopping community, Curator. I'm all about starting your year off with little luxuries to elevate your everyday. So I stocked our curated e-storefront with trendy accessories, chic home furnishings, and more that will make you feel so refreshed. As always, everything has my stamp of approval and is available for a very exclusive price. I know you're going to love shopping with us, so I'm also giving Climbing in Heels listeners an additional 25% off your first purchase with code CLIMB25, CLIMB25. So what are you waiting for? Head to Curator.com, that's CURATEUR.com, and get started today. Thank you so much to Maha for coming on the podcast today and opening up about how she manages her insanely busy life and schedule. Every day she takes on another challenge and then actually still wants more. I have to say, I don't use this term very loosely, and I would say that Maha really just blows my mind. I have seen her in action. I know many of the people that she represents in different areas of the industry. She is beautiful. She has style. I just want to add that because it's not a given. And she is just the absolute definition of someone climbing in heels because she works so hard. Her journey, like many I've had on the podcast, has not been easy. None of this was luck. It was sheer ambition, drive, determination, clear intelligence, but also, as she said, this sort of gift of really knowing how to work a room and knowing your place in that room. And that is something that can't be learned. But I think it's incredible to find a mentor that does, and watch and learn. That's my takeaway for today. So if you want more Climbing in Heels content, follow me at Rachel Zoe and at Climbing in Heels Pod on Instagram for more updates on upcoming guests, episodes, and all things Curator. And I will see you next week.
Am I doing the right thing with my finances? Am I saving enough? Can I buy a house? Am I paying too much in taxes? Will I be able to retire? Putting a financial plan together feels impossible. What if I told you there was another way? Take Facet's free financial wellness quiz to get your score and a snapshot of your current financial health. Visit Facet.com now and discover your financial wellness score today. That's FACET.com.
This ad is sponsored by Facet. Facet Wealth Incorporated is an SEC registered investment advisor. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor is it investment, legal, or tax advice.
Cocoa Beach, Orlando's closest beach, is also Florida's coolest beach. Bring your surfboard. Cocoa Beach is the surf capital of the East Coast, and we have the surf shops to prove it. Plus coffee shops, beachside bars, and restaurants. Wide open beaches make way for beach volleyball, cruiser bikes, kite surfing, shell seeking, surf fishing, and more. It's legendary. Plan your getaway from the everyday by checking out legendarycocobeach.com on Florida's Space Coast.
You know that feeling when you walk into your home, take a deep breath, and feel new? Well, that's what it's like to use Clorox Scentiva. Because Clorox Scentiva smells like coconut, cleans like Clorox, and feels like energy. It'll elevate any cleaning routine to not just clean, but also make every room smell like a tropical coconut getaway. Discover how Clorox Scentiva's powerful clean and refreshing scents can transform your space. Get yours in coconut or other fabulous scents at a nearby retail store.